Hey everyone, we're here to recap episode 6 of season 36 of The Amazing Race. I'm Emma.
I'm Evie.
And I'm Adam.
And welcome back to the Tar Pit Podcast.
So as Emma said, we're here to talk about episode 6 of season 36, and we are in a mega leg. We are starting in Argentina. Cordoba, Argentina, I believe it's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. They are leaving in waves, and there's 3 waves like we've seen before. The first wave is Caesar and Ricky and Shane and Juan. The second wave is Rod and Letitia, Angie and Danny, and Amber and Vinny.
And those 3 teams in the second wave were working together the whole episode.
Yeah, we'll dive into that quite a bit, I think, because it was a lot. And so I think we're definitely seeing we talked about this before, but we're definitely seeing the emergence of a strong alliance here. And then the third wave was
Yvonne and Melissa. And Derek and Shalisa.
And Busy and Sunny. They leave in waves. They have to drive themselves to an art installation area where they'll find a clue. And the clue will then give them a detour. And the detour is
Bicicleta or Boladora.
Yes. So, Emma, why don't you describe Bicicleta?
So, Bicicleta is these new recyclable bike things, and you put a bottle in the basket, and as you're pedaling, it grinds it up into like shreds so then they can recycle it easier.
Right. It's these things that are in the middle of town, and it must be part of some initiative to give people both exercise and start recycling, probably. It almost looks like a food processor. As it goes through this and you're bicycling, it chops it up into a bunch of shreds. And Boladora?
So you were kind of lassoing, like throwing a rope at this bull, but of course it was just a wood cutout.
It was inspired by the gauchos, who are the Argentine cowboys. And the teams had to sit on what was this sort of wooden horse. And you are throwing these ropes as this bull cutout is moving across a track. And you have to do so many within a certain amount of time.
Each person on the team has to get 1, but you get 10 throws in all.
So you have to get at least 2 shots, 1 each person, within 10 throws, or then you start over again. Those are the choices. Which one would you do, Evie?
I would choose the recycling because I feel like I would never be able to like lasso that bull.
Yeah, that looked pretty hard. I would do the recycling one, but all the bikes kept getting like jammed.
Right. So what we find is that the teams who go to the bicicleta, the bicycle that shreds the plastic bottles, is that as their teammate is pushing the plastic bottles in a basket, Amber had mentioned that the ring part, the sort of neck, the bottleneck, gets stuck. It's thicker and it gets stuck a little bit and it jams up the bike. And so it seems like it's difficult. She had a difficult time riding that bike.
Both of them.
But let's talk about Rod doing the bicycle.
Yes, I was just going to say that, yeah. He did it all by himself. Most of the other teams were like switching off, like every few minutes or so, each person did it. But Rod did it all by himself and he filled up the whole basket.
He literally crushed it.
Yes.
I mean, he crushed the challenge, the detour, he crushed the bottle. I mean, he was crushing it. I think Angie and Danny did it. But what we noticed, like Emma had said, to circle back to that, is as the waves were leaving the starting point to go to the spot where they get the detour ticket, Amber and Vinny, Rod and Letitia, and Angie and Danny all decide they're going to work together. And so that whole second wave is working together. Cesar and Ricky and Shane and Juan weren't necessarily, they both want first place, so they weren't working together. But that second wave was really working hard together.
And then Yvonne and Melissa started working together, and Sunny and Busy.
Yeah, they started a little bit further down, but from the beginning, though, of this mega leg, that second wave, those second wave teams decided they were going to work together. And they did. And so they got there. Danny and Angie helped navigate because that's their strength. So the other teams followed them. They got to the bicicleta. Rod and Letitia were the first ones done out of that second wave, and they waited behind and got directions and were mapping out a route to the roadblock while the other 2 teams from that second wave were still doing their thing.
Angie and Danny surprisingly finished before Amber and Vinny.
I was a little surprised about that too. I think it was because Amber was having a really hard time with hers, especially getting jammed up.
And so was Vinny, though.
Yeah.
They were both struggling.
Yeah,
and
I was surprised
Vinny
about
had
that.
to push Amber's legs.
So they were mapping stuff out. From the first wave, Cesar and Ricky, they did the Boladero, and so did Shane and Juan.
And so did Derek and Shalisa. And while all of this is happening, Derek and Shalisa are really struggling on the Boladero challenge, and that started putting them behind.
They were struggling a lot, and then what happened?
They eventually decided to switch because Shalisa was like, Derek, you're never going to get it. We have to switch.
Yeah, they ended up switching, which I think was the thing that really backed them up more, even though they were behind the other teams on all the different detour challenges. I think that backed them up even more.
And about the recycling, Sunny and Busy chose that one, and they said, we're going to recycle and help save the earth.
When they were going to their challenge. So they did the bicicletta too.
After the detour, they got a clue that took them to a roadblock.
The roadblock was called Who's Got a Good Sense of Direction?
And they had to memorize a bunch of turns in a really fast race car on this track.
Right. And Shane and Juan actually pulled out ahead of everyone during the Boladero detour. But on their way to the roadblock, they got lost. And that put them a little bit behind Cesar and Ricky again.
But Shane and Juan got it first try.
Yeah.
So he just kind of zoomed through that.
He got the roadblock first try. I feel like it wouldn't be that hard because it's a puzzle, but you only have 3 minutes to complete it. But you can see it's a loop. Like, a lot of people were putting the start at the bottom corner, and there's no way to make a loop if the line is going straight to the edge of the border.
Sunny was super excited to do the roadblock once they got there. She was very excited to do that. That looked a lot of fun.
Even though Ricky got there first, it took him 4 tries, which put them behind Shane and Juan.
Yeah, it felt like this whole part of the mega leg was Shane and Juan and Cesar and Ricky just kind of one's ahead of the other, and then the other one's ahead. They just kept inching on each other.
First.
Yeah, and just like Emma said, just competing to get first place a lot.
Yeah, so I think what we should talk about, though, is once the teams got past their detour option and got to the roadblock, what we really see is this strong alliance happening. And so that's those second wave teams.
Amber got it really fast, but Angie was struggling.
Yeah,
she was in that car. She did it like 4 times, and then she had the medics on her again.
She even was taking a penalty with Danny. She was like, we should take the penalty.
This is going to be the end of our day.
But then Danny was like, do you really want to take that chance? Because it's a 4-hour penalty.
Yeah, that's really long.
That is a long time. So I'm glad they pushed through. And also Derek had a hard time too once he got there with the puzzle. So
and Letitia, when she did it, the pieces were all over the place, like in her first try.
Yeah, but that's where that alliance that we're talking about comes in, because Amber and Vinny.
Amber she didn't really just give clues. She
told them exactly where to put each.
She was like, this goes here, and they got in like 2 minutes to spare. So that's why. And
you can tell because as that second wave teams were doing the roadblock, that some of those other teams from the third wave were starting to come in, and Melissa and Yvonne were doing it while the second wave of teams were there. And they were mad because they saw Amber going around helping the other teams from that second wave. And she literally did it for them. I mean, is what she was doing. She wasn't just giving them clues, like you said.
She told them exactly where to go.
Yeah.
And since Yvonne and Melissa and Sunny and Busy like later started working together, Yvonne and Melissa, they were like, it's hard to watch the other teams just help each other and do it with each other and give each other the answers while we're just out.
Yeah. Yeah, because they actually asked for help and were ignored.
They were like, do you guys want to work together? Like, we can help you. You can help us because we know some of the things. And they just didn't respond at all.
They just totally, shut them out.
Yeah, they just totally ignored. So, and that happens. That's part of the game, especially at this point where you're kind of halfway through the season. You have these alliances forming, especially in those middle tier teams, because they want to survive and they want to. But then at a certain point, that alliance breaks up, because then you're like every man for them or every team for themselves, because they want to get to those final 3 teams.
Yeah.
So in the next thing that we see After that first roadblock, we see Yvonne and Melissa get really mad when they come in and those teams are there. But like you said, Evie, they start buddying up with Sunny and Busy. And they realized maybe there's some value in working together with another team, or a team that's willing to work with them, I should say.
And I'm like, is an alliance forming with Yvonne and Melissa and Sunny and Busy?
Yeah, that could be the case. So they go from the roadblock of who's got a good sense of direction to another roadblock.
Who wants to score? And it's like you're playing soccer. You have to score one goal within like this time frame. And you have these giant bubble suits on. It's like the running of the bulls in a past season.
That's exactly what it gave me vibes of.
Everybody kept falling over. Cesar kept falling over. There was like no stopping him from falling over.
Shane did it really fast and Cesar got it relatively fast. But they
After he kept falling.
But they realized that if you just push people out of the way, then it cleared a path for you to score. And you had to score one goal, but it had to be you. Like no one else on your team could.
Yes, one of the people that was the participants set up the ball for the person that was in there, the teammate that was in there trying to kick into the goal. Kind of neat though, because the jerseys on the bubbles had their name on it. So that was kind of fun. But it definitely gave me some Running of the Bulls vibes. I kept thinking of the Cowboys in Spain with those bubbles and everything.
That was so funny.
Caesar did pretty well. He got bumped around at first, but then he said he kind of realized how to stand and how to move through, so he wasn't getting bumped around, and then he was able to get through it. Shane aced it.
Yes, he got it
went
so
through
fast.
really quickly.
I think he fell like once.
Yeah, and Rod also plowed through.
Yes.
So
because he played football.
Right. These muscle events like the bicicletta and this one where you just plow through. He's really, really pushing through.
Angie was struggling.
She was, but eventually she got it, though. I was actually pretty excited for her. She had a good time getting through there.
Sunny was like cackling when Busy fell over.
Yeah, they were having a fun time laughing at each other. Amber, though, got knocked down like crazy, and she got knocked down right as she scored. So she had a rough go on the bikes and on these soccer bubbles here.
Somebody got knocked over on their head.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And Derek got slammed down quite a bit too, actually, when he was there.
Angie got stuck on the ground. Like she fell and she couldn't get back up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So they had to go from the stadium where this bubble soccer was happening that looked like a lot of fun. And like I said, I think for some of us who've really watched it for a few seasons now and have become super fans for a while, it definitely gave us the Running of the Bulls vibes in Spain with the teams doing that. That was so much fun. We just wanted to tell you about our new and exciting project. We just launched a YouTube channel that will have great travel shorts for your family. We're calling them Travel Bites. You can find our new channel at youtube.com/@thetarpitpodcast.
And don't forget to click subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications every time we post a new video.
So they go from the stadium to this area of this sort of overlook of the city. And that is where Shane and Juan come in first. And Melissa and Yvonne, when they get there, they are definitely excited, but you can tell that they're a little frustrated because of all the alliance. It's still on their mind. It's still on their mind. You can read it on their faces that they're upset about that alliance and getting snubbed. But they had to go from that stop where they got a clue to another detour.
Who did it, or what's your beef?
So the who did it, what was that like?
You had to dust for fingerprints and match them with a lineup of ones that are already logged and find a suspect. And then what's your beef was the butcher named a bunch of meats in Spanish with their Spanish names, and then you had to match them on this board on a patio.
But everybody did what's your beef. Nobody did who did it. I really wanted to see somebody do that.
That one seems so much easier.
I thought Yvonne and Melissa would have picked that because of Melissa's background in like intelligence or at least like detective stuff. I thought she would have aced that.
I just wanted to see somebody like dusting like glass.
I think that would have been fun. So they all did the beef challenge, our detour though. Which one would you have done? The
fingerprint one.
Yeah, because I just want to like match fingerprints. I feel like that would be really fun. And
On their first go, Juan and Shane were so close, but they just switched 2 of the meats.
They did. So they go and they learn this, and then they have to go down the street to this patio area where there's stations set up. And they have to put the cuts of meat on that butcher block where they're labeled. So they had to quickly memorize what they looked like, the cuts of meat, and where they were from, the parts of the cow that they were from. And then they had to place them on that block. And everyone did that, though. I was really surprised that all the teams did that. We see Shane and Juan doing it, and they're in first place. They get there first anyways, and see Cesar and Ricky get there shortly after. They're really trying to memorize this, and they go to the stations and are doing it. And Shane and Juan get it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And the thing is I think a lot of people thought that Cesar would have an advantage because not only does he speak Spanish, but that he's a chef.
But he does mostly pastry.
And Shane and Juan were like, I hope he's not like very good with meats because then he might zoom through that before us.
Yeah, and they thought that too. So we find out though that he's more of a pastry type chef, so that did not give him much of an advantage. But as the teams start funneling in and doing What's Your Beef, that Sunny and Busy and Yvonne and Melissa start working together. So they wise up a little bit to that alliance that they saw at the other stations.
And they're there, and then they Angie and Danny, Rod and Letitia, and Amber and Vinny get there, and they're learning the meats. They realize that they can't get in until Yvonne and Melissa and Sunny and Busy come out, because it's first come, first serve, and there's only 3 booths. And then they come out and try to go relearn the meats, and then the 3 second wave teams go in and take up all the booths and start working together completely.
Yeah, I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They are working together, helping each other. They're literally doing each other's stuff.
Like they each memorize like 1 column of meats, and then they're just telling each other where everything.
But Rod and Letitia got in there before Danny and Angie and Amber and Vinny because there were 3 and only 2 teams were there. But then they were going back to memorize the meats after Sunny and Busy and Yvonne and Melissa left. But then Danny and Angie and Amber and Vinny said, wait, don't go, because then we can all work together.
Right, yeah. And so they did. I mean, they basically did each other's detour for them, for each other.
Yeah. And they just shut Yvonne and Melissa and Sunny and Busy out, like we were saying before.
Right. And so as those second wave teams were finishing at each station, Yvonne and Melissa come in to take over another station that just wrapped up. And they asked Angie, they literally asked Angie.
They asked Danny for help.
Yeah.
And then Angie was like, I'm playing the mom card. Don't talk to them. Don't help them.
Yeah. So, and she also, though, she was like, I left it to Danny. He does that stuff. Which is true, so she wasn't lying, but at the same time, then she was like, don't talk to them, we're not going to help them.
I played the mom card, don't talk to them.
Yeah, so that was and you can tell, oh man, the look on their faces, they were so mad. So I wonder how this will all play out as the rest of the episodes happen. So they go from the detour to the Plaza de
San Martin.
And that is the
pit stop.
There was a ton of traffic on the way there for Cesar and Ricky and Shane and Juan, though.
Yeah, they did. There was a lot of traffic. They had to make their way there. And also what we see is once the teams get to where they know this area is, they park and they have to go to the spot. But that the second wave of teams, that alliance, all get there at the same time because they're working together. And then it becomes a foot race for them of who gets the places. So what was the placing, though, for this pit stop?
Shane and Juan got first. Their very first. I feel like they deserved it because they worked very hard for that in this leg.
And they got $5,000 each.
Ricky and Cesar got second. Rod and Leticia got third. Amber and Vinny got fourth. Danny and Angie got fifth. But then Yvonne and Melissa came in sixth, and you could see how mad they were.
You can see it on their faces for sure.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Are they going to say anything?
I don't know. They might. I bet they will say something on a later episode.
They're probably going to say something in like the confessionals next episode.
Right.
Sunny and Busy got 7th, and Derek and Shalisa got eliminated.
They were the 8th team, and they got eliminated.
They were
but
struggling this whole episode, though. But up until this point, they were doing really, really well. They were really strong.
They were. I was sad to see them go. They've become a team that we've really enjoyed.
Yeah, and I feel like it was a little bit more hard because our grandparents were here and their grandparents.
Yeah, we were watching that with our grandparents, weren't we? So the other nice thing, too, though, is that I feel like Shalisa and Derek, even though they were the last team, they got a really good interview edit. So they had a really good interview at the end, and they got a really good edit from the show. So that was really nice because I felt like the show appreciated them also and gave them a really good interview edit as they were leaving. So that was really nice. So now we are just going to finish up on episode 7.
Yeah.
Next episode, and we'll see if this alliance
continues.
Rod and Letitia are going to split for them and say, you're on your own.
When it's something physical.
Yeah, when it's something physical and they're way ahead of the others. I think they're going to split from them and say, you're on your own.
Yeah, and also I feel like if the alliance sticks together and Rod and Letitia don't do that, then I feel like they're going to try to beat out all the other teams and like get the final 3 and then on your own.
That's true. Yeah. So at some point it's going to have to fizzle either because one team splits from it or because they just get down to the final 3 and then they really are on their own. So we'll see how it all pans out. But what we are excited to do is talk to Derek and Shalisa soon.
Yes.
And we will be talking to them and dropping the episode just after this one. So look for that also.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.